Hello there, Stampers. Tracy Filter here with Tracy's Ink Spot. Today I'm going to share with you a fun fold that I found on Jeanie Stark's blog. It's a little bit of an older post from her, but came across it the other day and I thought it was kind of a cute way to do a concept that's similar to a joy fold, if you're familiar with that, but it just has a little peekaboo window. So I'm going to start today by showing you where most of the products I'm using are coming from. January to June 2022 mini catalog, and we're going to go to page 59, which is the Heart and Home suite. I'm going to be using most of the items here on this page, or from this page here, with just a few additions from the annual catalog. All right, so that was page 59 on that. I'm going to show you what I'm going to be going through today then. I'm going to have the Hive embossing folder. I'm going to be using the Honeybee Home stamp set, and just so you know, it is bundled with a set of dies. I'm not going to be using those today, but just know that that does come in a bundle, so you save 10% when you buy both pieces at once. I'm going to be using the Heart and Home doilies. They come in a package with 3 different colors. I'm going to be using the cinnamon cider one today. And then there's a designer series paper, of course, to match. This is called Heart and Home. Lots of floral prints on this pattern here. And then on the flip side, lots of, it's not exactly black and white, maybe like grayish and white, wood grains, that kind of a thing. So they'll be really good for masculine cards. I would like to play with coloring these as well. I think that would be really fun. All right, so again, that's all from page 59 in the annual catalog, or I'm sorry, in the mini catalog. All right, set those aside. From the annual catalog, I'm going to be using some blends. I'm going to be using a blending brush for something, and I'm going to be using my layering circles dies, which are on page 163 of that annual catalog. All right, so let's get started. Here is what you need to do a peekaboo fold. I will raise this up just a little bit, and you can always freeze it whenever you need to. You're going to need a card base that's 5.5 by 8.5, and then scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using cinnamon cider. You're going to need, if you want to, you can have an optional layer on the front. That would be 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to choose to use cinnamon cider again, and I'll show you why in just a second. You could do anything contrasting as well. And then you can need a neutral piece that's 5 1/4 by 8, and you're going to want to score that at 4 inches. All right, and then you need some kind of shaped die. So again, I'm going to be using my circles. You could use a larger punch. You could use any kind of shape that you want. You're making a window to see into the inside of the card. So any kind of, like I said, die shape, punch, whatever works for you. Then of course you want your stamps and inks and accessories to go along with whatever you are making. All right, so first things first, I'm going to take this piece that I decided to do as a layer. And I did most of this off camera, but I'm going to show you what I did do. I took the Hive embossing folder and put that in there. This is one of the 3D ones. It's a little thicker, so you're going to want to make sure you have the right plates in your Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And I ran it through there, and then I get this really neat textured Hive printed piece, and then I'm going to attach that to the front of my card. All right, so I'm going to do a opening folder here to give that a good crease. Now, one thing I did notice with this, because it's such a deep impression, it pulls up when you use your tape runner. So go really gently, and I'm just going to go along the edges. Again, I'm going to go nice and slow, because if I go too fast, I'm going to rip up some of that paper. Just happens on occasion with certain folders, and I discovered that this is one of them. So you can see right there, it grabbed onto the paper. There we go. And again over here. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and center that on here, like so. Make sure I get those edges down really good. It also tends to make that paper a little curvy when you've got such a deep impression. All right, and this is where I've decided to add in my doily. You wouldn't have to have this necessarily, but I would just, I wanted this to have a little extra oomph on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my doily down just a little bit. I'm going to use just a real quick little bit of adhesive around some of the edges. I would recommend glue, just maybe like above and below all those little dots. All right, so I'm going to attach that to the front of my card. Now again, that was an optional layer. So this is about as many layers as I would go if you're going to be doing your window now. So, because I had to actually run mine through back and forth a couple of times to get the impression all the way through. So if you've just got the 2 layers, or if you've got any of the 2 layers or just the single, you really shouldn't need more than just 1 pass. All right, now I picked one of my circle dies that fits nicely around the dots of the doily in the center there, okay? So I'll bring this up a little bit higher so you can see. Okay, and then I'm gonna run that through. Like I said, I did this already off camera so that you don't see me wasting a lot of time with my embossing machine, my die cut machine. So like I said, you would run that through your die cut machine, and then that's gonna leave you with a piece like this that now has your little peekaboo window in it. And you can see my doily is still right around there. Okay, so then just set that piece aside for now. You're going to want to get your neutral piece, and again, that was excuse me, that was 5 1/4 by 8. Give that a nice little burnish. Okay, now eventually I'll show you where this is going. It's going to open. Oh, my fingers don't want to work. There we go. It's going to open this direction. Okay, so you're going to want the opposite of what you see there. All right, so lay that inside. You don't need to adhere it yet because you're going to do some work with this yet, but you need to get an idea of where it's going to be when it's on the inside, and then give it a little bit of a close. And I'm going to mark just a tiny bit with pencil around my circle, kind of like a clock, 12, 6, 3, and 9, just so I know about where that hits for where I'm going to want to have my stamping show up. Okay, so you can see they're just really simple, tiny little pencil marks, and you're going to erase those later if they show through after you've stamped. All right, so for stamping purposes, I'm going to take, where did I set my stamp set? There we go. I'm going to be using this flower here and the 2 little bees. And then for phrases later, I have the best of luck and the such happy news. All right, so because I'm going to be coloring with blends, I'm going to use my Memento ink. I'm going to go ahead and ink up that flower. And now remember, I have those markings where I want my circle. I'm just going to set this way. It's a little easier for me to see when I'm on camera. I'm going to have it go a little above my marking for the start in the top, and then centered between the other 2. Okay, so kind of like so. And then I'm going to add the bumblebees around the side of that flower. So one's going to be over there. And one's going to be over here. All right, there we go. Now we've got our bees. And again, I decided I wanted to color this with blends. I'm going to be using just Jade for the leaves. I'm going to be using Mango for the bumblebee. I've got a light balmy blue, and then I have both shades of Freesia. I'm just going to do a little bit of coloring on camera because I have a piece already done so that you don't have to watch me color. But what I wanted to show you what I did here, I used the balmy blue to just kind of create a highlight around the same edges of each of the pieces. So I'm just going to go a little bit around the right side of this bee and the right side of this flower. And again, I'm kind of intermittently touching, so it's not super dark in all of the places, but just gives a little bit of a glow or halo effect around them. A little bit more depth and stuff involved in that then. Okay, so there's that. And a little bit around this guy too, again on his right side. All right, so there we go. So I just did a little highlight around the edges of that one right there. Okay, I'm going to be using my light Mango Melody to go for the bees. So color those guys in right there and right there. And then I use, like I said, I use the Jade on the flowers. I tend to do just a little, or the leaves I should say, a little in the middle, and then enhance with the brush piece like so. Okay. Then again, Freesia covers the lighter, the rest of the flowers. I used the dark for sure on these little buds just to make that stand out a little bit. And I followed the same pattern of doing a dark highlight in the middle and then going over with my light Freesia. So after that is all colored in, I have this. Okay, so my bumblebees and my flowers and leaves are all cut. I added the phrase "Such Happy News" in the cinnamon cider color. And then I added "Best of Luck" to what is now the inside foot fold like that, okay? I'm gonna take one more step. I'm gonna add a little designer series paper to the inside of my finished project. And this is from the DSP itself, and I went with vanilla as my base in here, and this definitely has more of a white base to it, so I want to take some of the starkness out of that. So I'm going to go ahead and use my blending brush and my Fresh Freesia, and I'm just going to go over that a little bit, starting off the page and going onto it so that you don't get a clump. You don't want to have a clump right down on there. And again, the more color you add, the deeper that's going to get. So for example, I'm going to go really dark right in the middle to show you the difference there. Okay. So now I've taken that whiteness out of that piece of paper, and then I cut it down. That's about 1 inch wide. I cut it down to 2 pieces that are 1/2 inch wide by 5 1/4. And I laid them on the inside of the card. All right, so I didn't cut that piece down, but I am going to show you then how to assemble the fold where we've got the parts. Okay, so you're going to have your card base with your peekaboo window, and then you've got your card kind of feeling opposite on that side. So we're going to go ahead and adhere that down. Centered on the inside panel of that. And so that's going to open up that way when they open their card. And then when you close your peekaboo window, you've got just a little bit of whatever you stamped in there showing through. So mine has a little bit of flower and a little bit of bumblebees. And it would open such happy news, best of luck. And again, I'm going to go back after camera here and add this into the inside like I did on my basic first sample, where I've got those 2 little strips, just adding a little bit of interest to the inside of the card. All right, and you'll notice the first time I did this, I had it up a little bit higher for the window. This time I dropped it down just a little bit. I wanted to make it a little more centered. Still not quite exactly the center of the card, but just a little bit lower. I liked the way that turned out better. This again is a completely what I like to call a cook's choice. Totally up to you what shape you use, where you put it, and of course, obviously what images and everything that you want in there. All right, so again, here is what you need for this fold here, and these are the supplies that I used. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below the video, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. I have references here for all the pages of anything that I used today, and I would love to see your versions of these as well, so feel free to share them on my Facebook page. It's right there. I'll have a post with sharing the link to this video, and you can add your samples right under there. All right, so thanks again to demonstrator Jeanie Stark for that peekaboo fold option today. So there you go. All right, thanks for joining me, everybody. Have a great Stampin' time. Bye now.